morning. Happy Tuesday. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Natural Health News Live show. I'm Dr. Melissa Gallagher, a naturopathic physician based in Atlanta, Georgia, coming to you from my home office studio. And today we're going to talk about emotional, mental burnout related to the pandemic, the quarantine, the staying at home orders. And we're going to dig into just what all is going on, the validation of the experiences and feelings you're experiencing, as well as your body, and the manifestation of potentially symptoms that are related to the burnout. Today is our live show, and I have to pardon the chaos happening outside. Apparently our neighbor scheduled more trees to be removed. So our tree guy is in the hood. He is, they're cutting and they're chopping. And as it turns out, we are going to be getting the mulch. So I'm very excited about that. So welcome to all of you tuning in. I first want to thank, we have a video sponsor, Bellway. They do real good fiber. I'm very excited. This is an amazing brand that focuses in on supporting healthy digestion, healing the gut, supporting your fiber intake, by this amazing powder. So this happens to be a mixed berry blend, and it smells and tastes delicious. This is a powder, psyllium fiber. I'm going to tell you what the ingredients are, and we want to thank them. They are today's live show video sponsor, and I have links in the description box below. Psyllium husk powder. They have blueberry fruit powder, raspberry, some flavoring, lemon juice powder, monk fruit. And this has 5 grams of fiber. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with psyllium, but it is a really good way to get your bowels moving as long as you're hydrating, which, by the way, today, instead of some caffeine, I'm drinking my stress relief tea. I don't know if you guys can see it. But this is really easy to use. You can add this into a water. That generally is how they recommend mixing. And for the first 3 days, you start with just a little bit, and then you kind of gradually move on day 3 to the full quantity. And so they recommend on the back, it's 2 rounded teaspoons. So it's not a lot of fiber that you need. And let me share with you, we actually are going to be giving these away. We love freebie items, and Bellway is so wonderful. These are the 3B products that they have. So these are little samples. This is their lemon lime. It's hard to see, lemon lime. And then this is the one that I have, the mixed berry. And then this is a really, really good one. This is a raspberry lemon. And they are GMO free. They're gluten free. It's taste tested. And it's really cute. They actually give you, when you get, first of all, we got this cute little note, and then they give you stickers. Now, I'm an adult and I love stickers, and it actually says, only had 1 glass of wine, or ate a vegetable. You know, we have to celebrate our wins and drink water, put on pants, especially during quarantine mode. So Bellway has a little humor, but most importantly, they have fiber that is very good for supporting your digestive process. And when you order your product, you get this cute little booklet, and it just basically breaks out how to consume it. Literally, like the first 3 days, what they recommend is a half a serving, so 1 teaspoon. And then you gradually go up to on day 4 or 5, kind of depending. Everybody's digestive system works a little differently, but kind of gauge. Like the idea with psyllium, the way it works is it kind of is a bulking fiber, and it scrubs the digestive process. I love psyllium. And a lot of people get nervous about it because a lot of people think, oh, if I take a lot of fiber like psyllium, I'll get constipated. But as long as you're hydrating really well, it is this kind of gelatinous-y fiber that literally removes toxic matter from the lining of your intestines. And it also has an amazing way to support the restructuring of your digestive process. So a lot of times, if you're chronically constipated, the lower part of your bowel will get overwhelmed. And so with psyllium, it can help move things along so we're not overly constipated, so that the structure itself actually is able to come back to a normal state. So it does improve your gut health. It will get you moving. You know, ideally, You should be having 3 to 4 bowel movements a day with a psyllium husk from our friends at Bellway. And this, honestly, out of the 3 flavors, this is my favorite. I love berry. And I don't smell a vision. It smells literally so good. And they have monk fruit, so it's naturally flavored. And monk fruit also is very healing. So one of the things that you will find when you increase your fiber intake, you'll be less hungry. You'll minimize diarrhea, gas, and bloating. You also will notice the poochiness kind of disappear because your digestive process is moving. You tend to also notice a change in being more satiated. And then also the big benefit are decrease in your triglyceride and cholesterol levels, as well as estrogen balancing. A lot of people don't realize to move the bowels, we reduce our estrogen levels, we reduce our cholesterol levels. You get your liver functioning better, and it's not reabsorbing toxic matter. So love that. So thank you to Bellway, our friends at Bellway. And there is some details and a special coupon. So check out the description for that. And I'm super excited to have them sponsor our video because it allows me to bring this awesome content, which is really important today. I've got a report I want to go over and some news, and we'll dig into the topic at hand, which is really how to deal with emotional, mental burnout and exhaustion, lack of motivation. We're technically, today is 4 full weeks, actually more than 4 full weeks, but a full month I've been posting live shows to you. So I've been with you, many of you from the beginning. We're getting through this together, and I want to kind of address at that 1 month mark. And that's why I'm talking today about pandemic burnout and for a little love. Peace, love, and sanitize. This is a little tank. It's a super cute tank. It's a little workout tank that I'll be working out with and gardening. But I got this from an Etsy shop, super fabulous shop owner. And actually, let me grab, I have to show you the sweetest note. Hold on, friends. I love notes. I'm so old school. Okay, so this came with my little note, with my little, my shirt, and it's from Head to Toes, our friend Rachel and Matilda, actually two fab girls. They sent me the sweet little note, and how cute is this? So they have these on shirts. They made this tank for me because I'm summertime, and I figure we're going to be peace loving and sanitizing pretty much through the whole entire summer. So I needed some tank tops to enjoy our quarantine. So you have to use some laughter, right? All right. So and I've got new earrings. I got new little swankiness from our local coffee shop that they're not selling a lot of coffee or teas. And so they posted online last week and they did a delivery. So I can send you guys a link to this if you like that. But so first I want to ask, and because for many of you watching on the replay, this is a live show. This is unedited. We kind of go as we have conversations. And I really love that we're interactive. We all come together collectively as a single body, a natural health resource community to support and uplift each other. So I'm curious, how are you all doing? Many of you are even beyond 4 weeks or a month into quarantine, depending on where you're at. But how are you feeling? So comment it below and let me know how are things working out for you? Are you feeling okay about this? And do you feel like you're handling quarantine well? So comment down below. Joanne loves my tanks. Jenny from DeBlock says ups and downs. Yeah, it is. It's definitely a trying time. I mean, this is, it sounds cliche to say, oh, this is just something that is unprecedented, but it really, truly is. We have a global shutdown. I mean, a global experience where everybody on almost every single continent, except for Antarctica, there are cases of this virus. There are folks being quarantined and staying at home. it's very different. So I know it's going to, and we'll talk about this quite a bit, but the status of our situation is that it's just something that we're not familiar with. And because of that, we might be, and I don't say this negatively, we might be a little ill-equipped in terms of just how to deal with this. So Kim says, lots of stress with homeschool and everyone in my space all day long. Girl, I hear ya. Feeling good. Family is healthy. So grateful that we were healthy. Gratitude's awesome. Shirley says, I suffer from depression, but have been doing well lately. Awesome. Fragoni V, I feel positive. I'm doing the best I can to be safe and staying home, but not sleeping that well. Felicia says, I'm feeling confused with the P talking about reopening up everything. Yeah, I hear ya. And there's a lot of confusion. Let me see. I'm going to read YouTube. Let's see. Feeling it now. That's F it. I love that. Jody Fro, I enjoy having my family home and near. Yeah, that's definitely a huge positive. Genji, I'm okay, but at times it's hard to manage my teens' emotions. Totally. I mean, you already have like the hormonal stuff, then add this chaos, especially when they're trying to detach from us and not be locked down. Madam D Queen, I'm trying to be positive, but I'm constantly worried, especially because I thought I had it, but results say not detected. Okay, I understand. So it could be a false negative. Cupcake paper, hello, getting ready to start telework. Yay, welcome. Let's see. Lois says, I feel guilt if I complain about anything. Yeah, guilt is an interesting emotion. And we'll talk about that. Peacefully happy, making the most of time home, inspired, trying new things, making delicious meals for the family, yoga, gardening, meditations, long walks with the dogs. Rachel says it just feels strange. Janet, can't get help from unemployment. They do not return calls and sent me a form with the wrong info on it. Running out of money, tired of the propaganda. I completely feel you. Dottie says, I'm doing well, but I love staying home. We're retired and miss being able to travel to visit grandchildren and children. Let's see. All right. Yeah, there's just a lot of these emotions. I mean, give me a heart, thumbs up, especially for you on YouTube. Give me a thumbs up if any of these feelings are resonating. My seedlings are growing. Yay. So we got some gardening love happening. JP Sosa, working from home gives my day structure and a break from the news. Elizabeth says, yep, out of money and almost out of groceries. And Pat's giving you lots of love from afar. Fabulous moderator. And thanks, Pat and Ron, by moderating. So yes, I mean, everything that you guys are experiencing, and I don't know if you guys notice this as well, but like some days are different than other days. Like one day might be, okay, I'm handling this. Other days, like complete cry fest, emotional chaos. Can't handle anything. Leave me alone. I need to get out. Anybody else feel like that way? And I say that, in joking, but legit. I feel like I'm experiencing this just like all of you in kind of an interesting way. And I've had the ability to kind of work from home sometimes, but we're all home, we're all in each other's space, like it was mentioned before. And so we're going to address this. So I want to go through some news. I want to highlight some good news because I'm excited about good news. And then I want to go into what I'm considering pandemic trauma. And these will be phrases that we'll start to hear more. It'll be studied in the science books and everything, and behavioral science and all this stuff down the road, because we're dealing with basic survival, okay? And that plays a particular role on our body and our health and our central nervous system. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So for all of you joining us who are totally new, welcome. I hope you will follow or subscribe, join our community here, be a part of my daily shows, and you're not alone. So none of you at home are alone. We are all feeling a multitude of the same feelings. And so I want to validate each and every one of you and appreciate you all sharing the anxiety and fear and frustration and need to be alone and just changes the dynamic state of this. It is dynamic and constantly changing. And so let's go with some good news. Okay. You guys know I love John Krasinski's Some Good News show here on YouTube. I don't know if you caught, but last week he launched episode number 2. He launched episode number 3. And in fact, they were starting to break down the episodes. He's getting even better with his show. But for all of you who are Boston fans, Bostonians, New Englanders, I went to school. I have my doctorate from New England up in Connecticut. Actually, I lived in Boston, but did my training in the Boston area. But school was in Bridgeport. So I am kind of a Bostonian by I love that area. So I feel like it's the original American city. It's the original American pastime. And Some Good News, you guys have to watch it today to get a total kick on what he does. So just to give you a little snapshot, he is from Boston. So John Krasinski is a New Englander. And he taps into a teleconference with the nurses, the particular, I can't say the virus name, but you know what, it's the particular team that are dealing with ICU and the virus. And so he gets these nurses in a room and they have no clue what he's got planned for them. But he has all these things planned for them, some surprises, some even bigger surprises. And it's so exciting. And if you love baseball, you love comedy, and you love just good news, good happy feelings, it's so worth watching. So I wanted to tell you that episode number 3 is out. And episode number 2 will make you cry because if you're a Hamilton fan, he brings on the whole entire cast. It's pretty amazing. So you got to give it up for Zoom and video teleconferencing because that show is really built around that. So I want to highlight an article. Okay, so this is also some good news. So this is an early release. Most of the time, this I think gets released on Wednesday. You're going to hear more about this report because this report is showcasing from the CDC. So this is the Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report. And they go through some data. This actually is pulled February 26th to April 1st. So they pull this time frame. They look at 4 cities. And what they do is they want to identify the timing of community mitigation, which is quarantine, which is stay-at-home orders, executive orders from local and state governments. And so they look at Seattle, San Francisco, New Orleans, and New York City, the 5 boroughs of New York City. And basically, they analyze the type and timing of public policies that are issued to promote community mitigation interventions, and they do national, state, and local. Then they looked at the number of cases. Then they looked at an average 3-day percentage change in the reported cases, and then community mobility. So the movement of the communities. And they break down the details. So each line is a community. And then they say, okay, based on when was their state of emergency declared, when was the local emergency declared, state limits, local limits on mass gatherings, community, school closures, local school closures. They also did limits on senior facility centers because we know those are clusters of outbreaks. Then also when they limit bars and restaurants, and then put out curfews or stay-at-home orders. So they break that out amongst the 4 cities. And this is pretty phenomenal. They actually break out this chart. So I didn't do it, and I'll grab it. I've got it here on my desktop. I will grab this PDF so you can easily download this, print it, and look at it so you can get really detailed. But essentially, what it does is it identifies all these different base points where things start to occur. So most of the time, the local cities are the ones who are acting first. And so the state, declares an emergency. Then the schools start closing and they limit gatherings. And like the federal response is somewhere over here. So a lot way delayed, as we all know. And then it kind of charts like the little dots are the case counts. And so you can kind of see the different changes. And then this main blue line is when people are limiting their, like this is when people are going outside. So they start to see some decreases. So the conclusion is that, and they actually did this, they're all 4 cities. So we have New Orleans here, and then New York City, and then this is San Francisco, and then this is Seattle. So Seattle had the most impact, obviously, and they were the first to respond. They had the first major cluster of cases. So there's going to be some variance in the data. But basically what it does is it identifies, at the end of the day, it's showing what we are doing is working. So this, friends, is validation that everything, all the hell we're all going through is working. And so they analyzed the 4 with the idea that this might also be helpful for communities. Like, let me share with you a new hotspot that's popping up. For any of you who live in South Dakota now is the newest hotspot. Literally, like overnight, the pork plant that Smithfield runs, they have the largest cluster to date. There's 300 plus that have tested positive that are all working in this Smithfield plant. And that state happens to not be implementing any of these, they haven't done any of these tactics. So they haven't done any major closings. They're still open for business. They're not limiting gatherings. Clearly, all these people working at the plant. So the city itself is a 200,000 person city. So there's 200,000 residents there. Over 300 right now have tested positive, which is pretty substantial given it's been a small cluster. And the idea too is that because they haven't been tested well and there hasn't been community mitigation. So they're all, gathering, they're all shopping together, they're, schooling and doing all sorts of things. What we're going to see is probably a very quick rate of increase there. So Sioux Falls is the city that is where all these individuals work. We're going to probably see some of the rural communities that have reach where people are going into the city and buying things. So it's going to have some legs, but that now is on everybody's radar because of just the quantity of people in that community. The other thing that kind of not totally good news, but kind of crazy. So, the stimulus money is being passed out. So, everybody, they've said, check your credit unions apparently are the first that are the front line. So many people have seen the credit unions deposits coming in. Some are in a pending category. So check your bank. One gentleman, it's kind of interesting, an Indiana volunteer firefighter went to his ATM on yesterday to get $20 out and had a coronary looking at his deposit receipt because he had $8.2 million in his account. You're supposed to get $1,700, and there was clearly a glitch. Too many, zeros. So he has alerted authorities, and the bank's reversing it. I mean, it should have put up some red flags anyway for the amount of deposit that would come through. But I think that's kind of interesting. So he was like, one day I was a millionaire, and now I'm not. So just know that is an area that, or at least that's something that's coming out. So that is positive for many of you who have expressed that you have concerns about your financial status. So if you've got the direct deposit, they said by Friday, everybody should see those. Jody Fro says Sioux Falls is a medical hub for the area all the way into rural Minnesota. That is quite unnerving. And Cupcake Paper says Canada got 6,000 plus stimulus. We get 1,200 in the US, but they bail out big business. Yeah, it is crazy. But the Indiana firefighter won the lottery for a day. So let's just hope they are able to get this out quickly and promptly. And I know that as far as unemployment, every state I know is very different. I have seen my friends, particularly in Florida. Florida, the service industry has been hit. I had a business and there for over 10 years, and I have a big community of folks that I just love and still follow and support. And many of them are waking up at 2:30 in the morning and getting through the electronic process. So I don't know if that's something that you can do. I did hear reports that one state, people actually had to go in person. And so they're having a mass gathering of trying to get this process, which is completely the antithesis of what we want. Okay, so they're saying now that some of the net impact of the virus, we will start to see this impact in our cities, and that there may be some city-oriented layoffs and budget cuts because of the money going into the food banks and going into the community hospitals that are not for profit, that get financed. So there will be longer, broader scope of this. But I just, I want to report news. The most important thing is this. So I will grab this really fast and put this up, this PDF for you. So this literally hot off the presses. They released it yesterday, very, very early. Let me do the PDF. Oh, Instagram, poor connection. Okay. Oh, and by the way, so I want to highlight the whole poor connection issue. Let's see, what is it? MMWR. Okay. So I've gotten some news from YouTube, and this is going to also impact Facebook and Instagram. So if you follow folks like me and you watch lives, particularly YouTube, the replays now are not in the 4K or 1080 high def. They're downgrading the server bandwidth. I don't know, some technical term, but essentially things are taking longer to upload. More people are posting on YouTube. So my videos now, our live show, is sometimes taking over 24 hours to package up. So I know a lot of you want to come back and get links. You want to come back and comment and engage with the video. And sometimes it's not even showing up on the feed. It's not even showing up on my inside the feed to edit. So I did get news that YouTube was, they were quite overwhelmed with the bandwidth. So just FYI on that, if you're finding that other YouTubers are having challenges connecting. Okay, so all right, let's talk about this status, okay? We are in a pandemic that we have never, ever experienced before. This is unlike any war that any of us have experienced. It's unlike any terrorist attack. It is unlike any type of major meltdown of our economy, or even just bubble, kind of bubble boom. This is like all of it all together, all at one time. So our health is at risk. And I'm saying this, I'm not saying these to freak you out, but this is the reality of it. Many of us have fear about our health. We have fear of dying. We have a fear of getting sick. We have a fear of not being able to afford that if we did get sick, for our insurance or the additional exorbitant cost that has. And this is a traumatic experience. We are in a traumatic event. And unlike most traumatic events, like a car accident or even like a terrorist attack, they're pretty immediate. There's the cleanup after, there's the recovery after, but the actual event is quick. This is not quick. This is chronic. And we're at, for us going live, we're at a month of chatting about this, trying to keep you and your families healthy and safe during this time. We're getting more information about this, and we are not even in the middle of this. And so this is definitely something that is triggering. And I want to highlight that because the triggering nature of this is something that affects our central nervous system. This is a basic human function. So it is triggering fight and flight. And it's also taxing our neurotransmitters, all these communication pathways. I've kind of listed some things that I want to kind of highlight. So it stirs up old traumas. And this is stuff that you might not even recognize. Old traumas of family passing, how they passed. We are all grieving. We're grieving losses of all different types. Losses of jobs, losses of financials, the bank accounts are decreasing, the loss of toilet paper. I mean, toilet paper triggers people, even mentioning it. We are experiencing the loss of community, the loss of our everyday schedule, the loss of exercise and gym routines and access to items. Because if you're like us, we haven't exited the house to go anywhere. We drove around the car on, I think, Thursday. And today I'm going on a big adventure. I'm going to pick up my new heirloom plants that I ordered now almost 2 weeks ago. Or maybe it was last weekend. It was last weekend. But I'm going to a farm and I'm going to open the trunk, with like a little button, and they're going to put plants in, and then off I go. I've already paid for them. They know I'm coming at 11 a.m. And that will be the extent of my social interaction. It will probably be the most socially interactive I've been with anybody outside of the neighbors that we see from way far away and our mail carrier and waving to our UPS, FedEx people from the window. So there's a big loss. And then there's a lot of panic. And panic can manifest in a lot of different ways. It can manifest in the panic over our livelihood, our future, our social status, our social connectivity. It can be related to fear and anxiety about school. Like many of you have transitioned to being teachers. I am not equipped. I don't have the patience level to be a teacher. I can hear right now he's freaking out about something. Both of us. Brian's way more patient than I am, but holy cow, I have no training in, just maybe like a class of childlike behavior, and I'm not a teacher. And many of you parents, we are teachers as parents, but we are not structured like, the details of teaching our children calculus for those parents who are teenagers, and, literature readings and poetry analysis. And holy cow, even though we have technology and tools, that's a lot on us. So many people are wearing even more hats. And the impetus of this particular show was, I read two articles. One, it was like, you've got all this time. You need to pick up a new hobby, and, you've got all this time to do stuff and learn new, digital tools. And it was partially from one of like my business kind of people I read and follow that are in the business space. And, it's like, I would love to do that, but I am exhausted. And I know all of you are as well. And that exhaustion and mental fatigue comes from somewhere. There is a legitimate background and basis of this feeling we all feel. And it comes from old traumas, grief, loss, panic, anxiety, lack of sleep, because when you're stressed, you're not sleeping well, fear, and having health-related conditions that might be exacerbated, or might be underlying health conditions that freak you out, that you might be one of these people that would need ICU care. That's enough to cause significant meltdown within your body. And when I say meltdown, it literally freezes the central nervous system. Like, we are so overwhelmed with our central nervous system that we are exhausted. And so Sunny M76, so exhausted. Yes. Coupon Reezy. Yeah, we're exhausted. So, and there is I'm going to tell you, a good friend of mine, one of my bridesmaids, lives in Tampa, and yes, she's a realtor, and she had to meet with one of her clients in her house. Happens to be her hypnotherapist, and she had a little session. She videoed the session. She sent it to the girls, and I was watching this woman, and this woman nailed it on the head. She said, "We are in such a transitional time. There's a lot going on, a lot being stirred up, a lot of traumas being it's festering to the surface. The things we might not have dealt with, or maybe we did deal with, it's triggering things. It's triggering emotions, traumas. People are having really intense dreams or fear of sleeping, or even inability to sleep." But she really highlighted there is a serious fear of death. And this pandemic triggers a fear of dying. And I haven't said that. I haven't highlighted that to you. I don't even think I've really thought about that. But it's not just for ourselves, it's family members we know. We all know. We all have, senior family members that might be at risk. We might have spouses, partners at risk. We might have kids that are in a risk category. And there is something very basic that is getting triggered that we can't ignore and we need to address, because we're in this for a chronic state. However long we're in it, we don't know. But what we have to do is we have to equip our body to deal with this impact. And the impact is on the fight and flight system, and that's the adrenal system. So basically the past 5 videos I've talked about, if you guys want to go back on your, time, and you can fast forward, basically like 30 minutes in is where I get to like the meat of the video and content. And at some point when I get some editing help, and by the way, if anybody's an editor, I'm hiring. I need help because I can't do this by myself. But get to like that 30-minute mark. That's where I go into the gist of the content. And what you're going to find is that supporting your central nervous system, we have to support our adrenal glands. We have to deal with the stress. We have to sleep better. There are all these little things that we need to piece together and implement every day to keep things level. And I'm not even saying like optimized. I don't know anybody who's going to be optimized when all is done. I washed my hair today and I had some hair loss that was quite like, oh my God, I haven't had that in a really long time. And it's stress. And the weekend was very stressful because it was Easter and we didn't get to see any of our loved ones or have our normal Easter routine. And it's triggering. So yeah, getting a lot of agreement. I burned myself while cooking, and thank God the burn was not serious. Oh, Anita, sorry to hear that. Let's see. So Jana says, good morning, late coming on. Jana, we are talking all about burnout and mental, physical, emotional exhaustion from this. And I see we're resonating with a lot of folks, lots of hearts on Instagram. I appreciate that. And so the fight or flight response is getting triggered. So that is the biochemical trigger. And there is expansive impact on our health. There is our mental state, our state of happiness, our neurotransmitter levels, serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine. What that means is if you are more reactive to foods now, that's a sensitivity that's being heightened. We are somewhat more inflamed. Some of my lymphatic patients have noted that they've had a decrease in the amount of lymph that they've experienced, partially, I think, because they're able to elevate a little bit more, but others are experiencing setbacks. And the other thing too is that there are also tendencies to go back towards unhealthy behaviors. So I have a lot of friends, and I can say I've partaken a few times, might drink a little bit more wine or alcohol, or might be reaching to the comfort foods because that's their coping mechanism. And that then can have a factor on the state of how we're feeling. But globally, there is a complete a complete dysfunction, an overwhelming lack of functionality of our central nervous system. We are so bombarded that the root cause or the source of the imbalance that this pandemic brings into our lives, it affects our central nervous system. And that has broad-based impact on our body on all different ways. So Doris says, my IBS has been acting up more lately. Totally. And Rob says, I'm never happy anymore. Neurotransmitters. That's all related. And I want to make sense of it. I want to validate it for you. But most importantly, I want to equip you with some resources and some tools, some things to think about adding into your regimen. Obviously, supporting our adrenals is crucial, getting better sleep. Sometimes we need aids. I mean, at this point, we need herbals that can help balance the cortisol, which is the stress hormone that gets released, that then can overwhelm our body with higher than normal blood sugar levels. And plant-based babe 1111 says the adrenal burnout is real. Adaptogens aren't as helpful as usual. Totally, which means we've got to go even deeper. So yesterday I talked about the adaptogenic tea, which I am drinking in my quarantine or caffeine and quarantine mug. You can grab that, support an Etsy store. But like my stress adapt tea, this is quite powerful. So plant-based babe 1111. I don't know if you've tried this, but this is 1,400 milligrams of rhodiola and tulsi. Very powerful. REM sleep is, and I need to post this link to you guys. REM sleep's the gel pack that I take. I'm taking it every night. So I have a 30-day supply. You can re-up. So you can get 10-pack, try it out, and they do a 30-day. And then they just keep sending you. So it's very easy, but Healthy Cell has created this REM sleep, and it has 4 parts to it. So like the sleeping is key, the adaptogens are key, and then let's talk about the central nervous system. Okay, so that is the system that is even deeper than the adrenals. So the adrenals tend to be a big one I talk a lot about, but I'm going even deeper. So at the end of the day, the fight or flight, the trauma, the fear, the panic, the anxiety, that response has several different things at play. It completely melts down the functionality of our central nervous system, and that is critical for keeping us up functioning. So, and we're in a month in. And, there's reports that maybe we need to have some expectations that November, December, we're still going to be dealing with some of this. So I want to highlight to you that this is all about survival. Like we are in survival mode. That whole fight or flight is human instinct. Like, when you're driving on the road and the little squirrel's in front of you and he does, and he runs one way, you know what I mean? Like the squirrels, they drive me crazy. They run towards their nest, but they're like little it is their body adjusting and adapting to potentially being hit, and then they take off. Well, that is the kind of phase. That's what we're in right now. This phase, this is trying and very taxing. Taxing is probably the better word. This is a taxing state on our central nervous system. And so we need to support it. Because as we support our central nervous system and we have these building blocks, the adaptogens and the cortisol management for the adrenals, and then we layer in healthy sleep patterns, and then we layer in, your multivitamins and minerals and your Bs and liposomal Cs and all these other resources and good healthy food. What happens is we're going to have the foundation. So at the core of our survival mode, it is our central nervous system. And there are tonics. I want to talk a little bit about some tonics. I want to talk about some ingredients in the tonics that are going to be powerful, but we are surviving. There's a fear of poverty, a fear of illness. There is a fear of losing everything that we know and are comfortable with. People are fearful of losing their houses, their apartments, jobs. Some people have already lost those. It's triggering. This is a base human experience, and we're all experiencing that in a lot of different ways. And because of that, this survival mode, we are all feeling threatened. some aspect or multiple aspects of our lives are feeling threatened right now. And that is what we're dealing with. Okay. So I don't know if this completely resonates. If it does, give me a thumbs up. YouTube, hit that thumbs up button so we get more thumbs up, and share. Please share, post to your communities. So I want to share with you some tonics. I'm a huge fan of using herbals, particularly for the central nervous system. And there are a lot of these are going to be herbals that are tonic in nature, meaning they are calming, they're sedatives for the central nervous system. They're not going to make you sleepy, but they just kind of take the edge off things. They just tune it down. And we also need to balance the sympathetic systems. And so there's the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. So these two need to be equally optimized, and the best tonics are going to balance those two. So I first want to highlight one of my favorite herbs. It is a nervous system tonic by Herb Farm. And you guys know, like, this is a brand. It's a little yellow bottle. It happens to be a blue label because they have it late. I don't know if you guys know this, but they label the little label. They all have different color codes for the systems that they address. So blue is going to be your nervous system. And so you'll see a little blue at the top. I've got links down below. They have, I think 6 different herbs in it. And it has skullcap, which is a particularly flowering herb that is very central nervous system empowering. That it also has oat milky seed, and that is an Avena sativa. That is a very calming, very soothing herb. It also has St. John's wort, so the hypericum you might be familiar with. But St. John's wort is very balancing for depression. That's a central nervous transmitter balancer as well. It also has celery seed and lavender flower. And it's going to be in an alcohol base. That's an herbal tonic. I love that. So there are 2 that I recommend. So that particular one. And then the other one is another Gaia. I talked about the Gaia herbs yesterday. It's one of my favorite, like, deep stress and deep central nervous system balancing. They have very, very powerful support for helping create synergies between the nervous systems. And this particular one has 2 components. It has a mushroom blend and then a herbal synergy blend. So the mushrooms that are very central nervous system in support are lion's mane, reishi, and then it also has cordyceps. Love cordyceps. So those 3 often get billed as adaptogens, but down even deeper, they're pro-supportive of our central nervous system. And, mushrooms are very powerful. They often have multiple utilization or ways to utilize them within the body. So they'll support stress, they'll support immunity, and they'll support your nervous system. So that has that blend. Then it also has gotu kola, which is the only herb that'll deliver nutrients to your brain. So gotu kola is like I call it the gateway to the brain. So it's the herb that will open up the pathway so that you can deliver other nutrients. So anytime we want to support the neurotransmitters or any type of brain biochemistry, you need to have gotu kola in it. And it also has holy basil. So I talked about holy basil yesterday. That's the Tulsi. That's what you find in here. And DM me Instagram if you want these links. I do have these in our full script store and they are in stock. They can ship out today. It also has rosemary leaf. Rosemary is another one that'll balance. So a lot of times we see rosemary in, like I mentioned, the hair loss that I've experienced this morning. It'll balance out the DHT when it's topical, but internally it'll balance all of the kind of hormonal imbalances that we see in the brain. So rosemary is very powerful, but gotu kola is the key. It takes all of those nutrients and brings them into the brain's control center, and it starts to nourish and create balance. Huge fan of that. And when we look at the balance in the brain, The brain is the control center. The brain is what's signaling to the rest of the body. It's in red alert mode. Like, red alert, we're in panic mode, we're in survival mode. And certain things start happening. It's a cascade. And so to really, truly address all those signaling, we've got to address what's happening in the central nervous system, the control panel. So I am a huge, huge fan of those two products because they're the go-to for everything you need to address this. Now, does this, let me just set some expectations. One, are these supplements going to the end all be all? Is it going to make you feel better? Okay, two things. One, they will, but it's deeper. You might still feel slightly panicked, slightly fearful, slightly anxious, slightly depressed. But what you're doing is you're nourishing the deeper part of that survival mode. And what we're doing by treating it and addressing it now is minimizing the long-term impact. So what happens is when we have chronic survival mode stress, and this is a traumatizing event, like you need to really give yourself some self-compassion. We're under trauma, like we're in a traumatic event. It's just like a slow motion car crash. And we don't know how long it's going to go on for or what the long-term impact will be. Because of that, we need to have underlying support for our body's biochemical reactions, and we need to support that survival mode so that we can get through this. We've got enough energy to go through this slow motion car crash that we know as a global pandemic of epic proportions. And let's see. So I'm seeing some comments here. So all those items, they're linked in YouTube. They're in the store, so you can grab those. If we steep fresh rosemary, can we make an effective adaptogenic tea? It depends on how much rosemary you get, but you're not going to, without gotu kola, you're not driving it into the brain. So the rosemary will be very impactful on other systems, but it won't impact the central nervous system. Because again, everything that's controlling the nervous system is up here in the brain. We have our pituitary, the little dipstick that's measuring blood chemistry. We have our hypothalamus, the hippocampus. We have all of these control panels. It's our CPU. It's up here. This is these herbals in the right synergistic combination with those mushroom blends. They are powerful, but they are only powerful together. So separating them out, you're not going to get that effect. But rosemary is very powerful. It's just not going to support the central nervous system like you'd want because you're lacking a gotu kola. Okay, so all right. One of the other things too is, okay, so Kim's got a question. Do you prefer kava tea or stress relief tea right now? All of the above. So Kim asked me, do I prefer kava tea, which is one of my favorite teas. I drink a lot of that at night. Kava is an herb. It's a Peruvian herb. I want to say it's Peruvian. I think it's Peruvian. It is at least South American in its orientation. It is a root that is very balancing. I love it. And it's a central nervous system tonic as well. It just calms the system down. That is very powerful. So in that type of state, I will drink my Stress Adapt throughout the day, the morning, and the early afternoon. Then I stop, have dinner, and then after it's going to be stress, kind of toning things down, getting into sleep mode, more passion flower tea, more kava tea, sometimes blends of the two. My favorite tea shop, or the coffee shop that I love, where I ordered these online. Ordinarily I don't buy a ton of jewelry and stuff, but these are on brand, and I love these colors. And I'm coming to you guys, might as well have some fun jewelry. But I also love that tea shop because they have one of my favorite passion flower teas. It's this beautiful tea, and I can't find it anywhere else. So one of the other things too is there are some other blends that are powerful. So I want to highlight something that I've posted here on on YouTube. It's called, I don't have it in front of me, but it's called EVOZ, and it's by Nutrimedics, and they have a hyssop. Now, hyssop is an herb, and it has emotional balancing and emotional support. So for like Rob, the aspect of imbalance you might be experiencing, you might actually get a better hit from the hyssop than anything else. And it's less expensive. Rob said the cola is caffeine. Gotu cola is a particular herb. It is one that opens up the brain synapses. And it's just for however it works. I don't know the like deep chemistry to explain it, but it is what becomes a delivery method. So sometimes caffeine, sugar, there are delivery methods that we see utilized in certain supplements. Plants are just the same as we might see in a pharmaceutical, but it's just the way that it delivers that. So I love hyssop. And I also want to highlight that the 3-letter herbal that I don't talk about anymore, but I'm going to highlight, these guys, they now have, so Octagon Biolabs, I love them. I still work with them. Octagon Biolabs now has capsules. So I've posted a link in the description box for you all. They just launched that. I want to say they hit we talked about it last week when I was on the phone or messaging him. They now have the capsules. So you can take that 3-letter herb that's so powerful. That, honestly, friends, is one of the combinations of central nervous system support. So we actually have tons of clinical data that 3-letter herb, the endocannabinoid system, is very balancing of the central nervous system. So it's part of the receptors that need to be fed to balance the central nervous system. And what I find in combination with the core central nervous system herbs and medicinals is that you get greater effect as you are nourishing your endocannabinoid system. So we have CB1 and CB2 receptors. Those need to be nourished as well, and we'll see balance too. And so there is a 20% coupon code if you want to go. You just go to Octagon Biolabs. I've got a link here. And then the coupon code's my first name, Melissa, Melissa, the 3-letter word. C ends in a D, second letter of the alphabet is the middle one. Okay, so you can check that out. So that is very powerful. I also want to highlight something that if you want me to do a specific video, not live, but a real specific video, let me know. One of the other things that is going to be triggered by the survival mode we're in are going to be states of chronic fatigue syndrome and Epstein-Barr virus. So many of us have survived Epstein-Barr virus. We've gotten over it. It can trigger that. Sometimes that virus can lay dormant for years. So it's not uncommon for you to also be dealing with a viral infection that is plaguing your thyroid. It's plaguing your hormone balance, it's plaguing your sleep, it's plaguing all sorts of imbalances. So let's see, Shirley, on YouTube, they censor it. I have been severely hit hard. They remove the videos, they give you strikes, 3 strikes, you're out on YouTube. And so we don't name it, but I'm starting to talk a little bit about it again because it's just so powerful in this state. And I feel like you all need to hear it. But most everybody on YouTube already knows what I'm talking about. Okay, so on Instagram, you guys, we've got a minute left. So I do want to highlight that. But really the big thing is that, we do need to keep the balance in our lives. We do need to, ground, be outside, sit in the sun, take leisure time, walk, exercise your dogs. But I really want to draw a line, and I hope that I haven't been pushing this as well. And so if I have in the past, I apologize. But this one article I read, it was like, we're all about, we've got to be more productive and, get out and do all this stuff. And the reality is we're all surviving. And there has to be a kind of pass we give ourselves and each other that you just might not feel like it. And that's okay. Because at a deeper level, it's the central nervous system that is completely taxed. So Instagram, I'll pick you up on the other side. Okay, so Instagram, I don't know why it's starting to shut off a lot sooner. Okay, so I'm saving that story. Does that make sense, friends? For all of you in terms of just the state of, the idea of being productive and fruitful during this time is probably a lot more than most can handle, even the greatest balancers. I'll bring it back, Instagram. Hey, Instagram, we're back for part 2 of our Natural Health News live show. I'm talking about emotional and mental fatigue, quarantine burnout, and pandemic-related stress on the deeper levels of the body, your central nervous system being imbalanced, completely taxed and melting down. So welcome to all of you joining. If you want to check out on the stories down there, you can watch the part 1 and get caught up. Okay, so let's see. I'm seeing everybody. What's the something injection? I don't know. Yeah, so Epstein-Barr virus for sure is going to start rearing its ugly head. Also, the pox viruses. I've had a lot of emails about cases of shingles happening. That's all stress. But for sure, Anita says, breathe, rest, breathe, say a prayer. Meditation is very powerful. And Jenny says, everyone's in a frenzy about spring cleaning, decluttering. Now it's time to organize, and I'm not feeling it. Totally. And you know what? Give yourself a pass. It's okay. You might feel it or you might not. And don't judge yourself. Don't judge yourself or compare yourself if you don't. Because the other thing is, a lot of those folks that are in that running mode, they're flighting. Like, that is fight or flight, and they're running. And so they're running from the saber-toothed tiger of caveman days. They're just running from the quarantine. They're running from the pandemic. They could also be running from even dealing with it, because we all have different ways of processing trauma. And so that's the other thing is that some people are going to say, oh, you've got more time, you can be more productive. And the reality is that you just might need to do more self-care and take space. And, like Sharon says, at the end of the day, productive or not, we make sure our kids and loved ones are taken care of and loved. And that is absolutely true. Because that's what's most important, our health, our happiness, our sanity, and our families. And those are basics, right? Like, we go back to the basics. We have to make sure we have food, shelter, water, and our family. And for many people, some of those are being threatened, and that is causing additional stress. So, practicing self-compassion is, I think, one of the most beautiful messages that I can impart to you this morning. And that it's okay. And it's okay to put things off. If you don't feel like it, just do what you feel like you need. And just make sure you're hydrating well, you're eating well, you're trying to rest, take naps if you can. And Pat says crying can be a release. Absolutely. Laughter is an awesome release, which, by the way, seriously, you guys have to watch some good news on YouTube. So I'll make sure I at him. I can tag him in my video. But, oh, it's so good. And the episode 2, I cried because there's a little girl. She was so excited about Hamilton. She lives in Jacksonville. And her family had to cancel. And, by the way, the tour tickets are crazy expensive. They came to town in Atlanta. I was like, oh, this is great. And checked out tickets. Oh my God. They were the cheapest ones were $500. This is insane. So I know her family, saved up, and she was so excited. And he caught wind of it and brought in the entire cast and the original cast. It was amazing. So please do see that. Okay. So yeah, laugh at times too. I can't stop. Yeah, Rob. And laughter is seriously what you're doing you're releasing endorphins. And that's part of the coping mechanism. So, we for sure, I have to show you guys my little shirt. We for sure are dealing with that coping mechanism. So just want to put that out there in terms of just know we're all in survival mode. And survival mode is going to look and feel different than probably anything we've ever experienced before. And that's okay. That's to be expected. So I want to highlight again to our video sponsor, Bellway. They have an amazing trio of fiber, these fiber little packets. I have my other one. Where did it go? Here it is. So I'm going to pick some winners. Then I'm going to mail you these little samples that they gave me. So this is a psyllium-based fiber, which is so good for moving the bowels. It supports smoother, healthier, easier bowel movement, supports minimizing bloating and digestive grief. It'll reduce cholesterol levels. It supports heart health in that, but just super powerful. So Bellway is our video sponsor today. I'm so grateful for them allowing us to have today's show, which I think is very powerful for each and every one of you. So I'm going to pick some winners. Rob 1978, I need you to email me your address. I'm going to send you one of these samples. I'm going to put in my email address, so you send me your address. And I'm going to pick a winner from YouTube, Shirley Rawlson. I don't know if I said that right. You are going to get one of these. So DM me your address and I will send you one of these packets. Let's see here. So I'm going to scroll up and we've got, let's see. Lulu, email me your address and I'll send you. So we've got 3 samples brought to you by Bellway. There's a link down below. They've got an amazing discount, 25% off. So check it out. I hope you will support them because they've supported us here. And if you love my little Etsy tank, this came from our fabulous friends over at, I'll show you the cute little card they have, at Head to Toes. You can see that, Head to Toes. Super, super loving their shirts. Super soft, very, very comfy. And my cup. So these are Etsy stores that we're supporting. Caffeine and quarantine. All right, friends. So, so email me, you guys, Lulu and Rob and Shirley. And tomorrow we'll definitely talk about some more balancing aspects. This week, I really wanted to be kind of a dealing with the stressors. So, and I will keep you posted today. If you're interested in my garden adventures, because that's a real big thing this week, Instagram, I posted, we laid down some new rocks. Brian is so great. He laid those down, got some things on order. And today I'm picking up some heirloom veggies from our local farmer. So I'm excited about that. So check out our garden. It's getting completely transformed this week and seeds are being sown now. And I'll show you my first rose of the season. Is that pretty? This is beautiful tea rose, very fragrant, and it's called Gold Medal. So I thought that was pretty apt. All right, friends, thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you guys like the garden, the yard. We have a huge yard. We're trying to transform it. The previous owners had no clue what they were doing. So anyway, hope you guys have a great day. Tune in tomorrow, 9 a.m. Please like and share this video, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Be well, everybody. Thank you. All right, YouTube. Thanks again for tuning in. And again, big thanks to our video sponsor, Bellway. They've got an awesome discount code down below. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.